Educators, parents, students, supporters, friends, thank you for joining us today. My name is Kyle Wormuth, and I am public education. As a junior in high school, I knew what I wanted to do. I knew that I couldn't work on an assembly line doing the same repetitive task every day. I also knew that I couldn't work in corporate America. Profit is something that has never motivated me. And I knew I would not be happy working a job where the bottom line is more important than people. I have always had a compulsion to make a difference. My wife often tells me with great affection that I suffer from white knight syndrome. For these reasons, I knew that I had to be a public school teacher. Today, I am a reading specialist in Orange County. I still feel that compassion for my students, and now it has spread to my colleagues. This year, I became the president of Orange County Education Association. In that role, I do all that I can to advocate for my colleagues and my students. This is what brings me before you today. We have gathered here today because we all feel grief for the loss of high-quality public education. Public education in Virginia was born in Richmond in 1796, the offspring of Presidents Jefferson and Madison. In its youth, public education was limited to college-level instruction. But by 1870, public education was providing a free education in every county in Virginia to more than 130,000 students, ages 5 to 21. In 2010, despite suffering serious attacks from its opponents, quality public education provided education to more than 1.2 million students in Virginia, and it was ranked the 4th best education system in the country. Each of us remembers when educators had free choice in their classroom. We could choose how and when to teach important things. Now we teach pacing guides, mandates, programs, test and testing skills. There is no time for teachable moments. The flexibility is gone. One of my professors shared an important lesson that deviated from his course description. He said, "Always remember, you don't teach lessons, you teach children." This is a point that has always stuck with me, but now it seems harder and harder to keep that belief. I know one teacher who had her principal walk past her room during a class discussion. She posed the question, "Who is the governor of Virginia?" The principal later asked her, "What SOL was that?" She wanted to tell her principal, "Life." Do we really think the only important topics for learning are in the SOLs? Pressure to teach the test continues to rise. The goal of public education has shifted from being student-centered to test-centered. More and more, students have become a number on a spreadsheet. We ask, what did he score on his SOL last year? Or, how can we raise her score? The end product is a score, not the child actually growing or learning. SOL scores are now no different than profits in the corporate world. We, as a system, force students to learn in ways that we know are less than optimal. Nobody can argue that assessment does not help teachers become more reflective practitioners. But how much time do we lose due to over-assessment and test preparation? I do not mean to suggest that teachers have intentionally changed in this way, but rather the rules have been changed and forced administrators and teachers to adapt to the high-stakes test. While we have valid complaints against the SOLs, I believe they were created with good intentions. I cannot say the same about the tone of the legislation coming out of Richmond this year. There are real attacks with the goal of dismantling public education. They are chipping away at our schools piecemeal. What does Richmond do while we give our students everything they need? They seek to strip us of our retirement. What does Richmond do while we spend over 40 hours a week planning, grading, and tutoring? They seek to strip us of our due process rights through continuing contract. What does Richmond do while we spend our money on our classrooms? They fail to give us a level of basic aid that will give our students a fair chance in the world. We have gotten to this point because we left the hen house unguarded and let the fox walk in. We closed our classroom doors and lived with the consequences of decisions made by non-educators. Now, we need to make some real changes. We need to take responsibility for our profession. We need to fully engage in the reform debates. There are things we can do better. The first thing we need to do is stop feeling sorry for ourselves. When I received a reduction in force letter in 2010, I started organizing our rally in Richmond. The planning process made me stop focusing on myself and refocus on taking action. That rally helped force the governor and the House of Delegates to retreat on the severity of their cuts. I have no doubt that we saved my job along with thousands of others. Perhaps it helped save yours. Had we not done that, I know I would not be standing before you today. Next, we need to get organized. We need to reach out to all who support us and join together. While parents, teachers, administrators, and school boards may disagree from time to time, we agree on things at least 90% of the time. We need to work together and speak with one voice. Who is better able to make decisions about our students? Politicians or teachers? We are the ones with the knowledge of how to make our schools better. They've had their chance to fix things. Now is the time to lead. Now is the time to make a difference. Once we get organized, we need to take action. In recent weeks, we have successfully challenged bills that most thought would pass easily. You have come here today because you care. Today is not an end, but rather a beginning. Today is not the death of public education, but rather an alarm to wake it back up. Our present situation reminds me of what Thomas Paine wrote in 1776. These are the times that try men's souls. The summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will, in this crisis, shrink from the service of their country. But he that stands by it now deserves the love and thanks of man and woman. Tyranny, like hell, is not easily conquered. Yet we have this consolation with us, that the harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph. What we obtain too cheap, we esteem too lightly. It is dearness only that gives everything its value. So I ask you, are we going to let politicians tell us how to do our jobs?
No!
Are we going to let politicians dismantle public schools so that their corporate buddies can make more money?
No!
Are we going to lie down or stand up? What are we going to do?
Stand up!
When we get involved and they sneer, who do you think you are? We need to tell them proudly, we are public education. Who are we?
Public education!
Who are we?
Public education!
Who are we?
Public education!
We are public education.
We are public education!
Thank you all for your dedication to our students and your colleagues. This is the start of something that's going to be great. We're going to continue it, and we need you with us. Thank you.